Welcome and greetings to all young people anywhere in the world who listen to me, and I'm happy to share these biblical insights of universal relevance to all who care to benefit from them. In this video, I focus our attention on a principle, a value, which is of immense consequence, especially for young people. In order to give some kind of a focus to our thinking, let me refer to a biblical episode. It is recorded in the second chapter of the Gospel according to Mark, where Jesus heals a paralytic. I will not bother you with textual details. All I want to underline for the purpose of our thinking together is the very unique way in which Jesus restores this man to health. Jesus asks him to take up his bed and walk. Take up your bed and walk. Please read when you have time the account of this episode found in the first 12 verses of the second chapter of the Gospel according to St. Mark. Now, this man was brought to Jesus, carried on a pallet by 4 people. So the bed carried him. And after this encounter with Jesus, when he goes back, he carries the bed. Now, you can't possibly imagine a reorientation in life more radical, more striking, more dramatic than this. But what is the relevance of this shift, this reorientation, or if you like the scientific word, paradigm shift in the life of this man? In what sense does it apply to us, or does it apply to us at all? This is actually the domain of our thought. Now, on the face of it, we would seem to be, especially when we are young, the farthest from the predicament of this man who is completely confined to bed and who has to be carried around by others. We are young, we are energetic, we can go where we want, we are up to anything. And the idea that we are dependent on others is alien to us. The fact of the matter is that life always implies dependence of some sort or the other. For example, if you have a car and you drive, you're dependent on the road, which was not created by you but by somebody else. You are now having education in some of the best institutions in the world, or one of the best institutions in the world. You didn't establish that institution. It was done for you or by others, and it was developed over a long period of time, and generations perhaps worked hard to build up its reputation. And the technical word or the technical name for this kind of a situation is something that you might find interesting enough to remember. It is called chronological unfairness. Chronological unfairness. The fact that people work hard, but the fruits of their labor are enjoyed by others. Just as they enter into the fruits of the labors of others, in turn, they work hard and produce good things, the benefit of which will go to other generations. So that's how history works. Chronological unfairness. What we would have liked is that we are the sole enjoyers of the fruits of our own labor, but that's not how it works. In fact, nothing in the world would be possible but for this principle of chronological unfairness. We are able to do something today because we have inherited the fruits of the labor of thousands and thousands of people in the years, centuries gone by, who have worked hard, worked selflessly to bring civilization and its many advantages to their present stage of development to which we have access. Pardon me. Now, therefore, how does this episode connect to us? Quite clearly, two completely different attitudes to life are dramatized here. The one attitude, which is the more universal attitude, unfortunately, is represented in the plight of the paralytic who has to be carried on a bed to wherever. He's completely dependent on others. In fact, from a very shallow point of view, you might even think that he's the beneficiary, and he's even in an enviable situation. He doesn't have to stir a little finger. He asks the four people to take him to a shop, they do so. Take him to a theater, he does so. Take him to a beauty parlor, he does so. Take him to church, they do so. They do so. It goes on like, but it's a pathetic state of disability that no one will dispute. But unfortunately, most people live like this. Now, I don't know the situation in other countries. In India, children of middle class parents, not to say anything about children of rich parents, they live virtually like this. Everything has to be done for them, including packing their school bag, leave alone doing their tiffin box, etc., polishing their shoes and all the rest of it. Everything has to be done for them. Whatever they can do for themselves, they will not do. When my children used to be in schools in Delhi, I used to go and receive them from school. And I used to see children coming from comparatively affluent homes, being waited upon by servants. And they would emerge from the school campus and then they throw their school bag at their servants. They wouldn't even bother to hand the school bags to the servants. The servants must be alert and ready to catch the school bags coming flying to them. That's fairly indicative of what happens. So, a further extension of this is that we expect everything to be done for us. Others should be meticulous in discharging their duties and obligations, of which we are entitled to be the beneficiaries. When it comes to discharging our obligations and duties by others, well, it's another story. It's addressing this universal reality that Jesus says, the Son of Man has come not to be served, but to serve. Now, that's a very significant statement. Often, the full implication of the statement is not heeded or taken note of. Now, Jesus' point of view is that if you always want to be served, then you are no better than a paralytic. In this context, I'm reminded of a very characteristic statement by George Bernard Shaw. He says, when the master gets into the habit of getting everything done for him by a servant, then the servant becomes the master, for the master cannot live without him. Actually, I think Shaw uses the word slave, not servant. When the master comes, or when the master gets used to getting everything done for him by his slave, then the slave becomes his master, for the master cannot live without him. So this is a state that's considered to be a privileged state, and particularly if you belong to what's technically called the leisure class. People who do not have to do anything to have a nice, easy, effortless life for themselves. The leisure class. Everything is done for them. And from a human, spiritual point of view, they are no better than the paralytics. Their presence or absence would make no difference to the life of the needy. They'll make a difference to the servants, because then if they're absent, the servants would have a better time. They have nothing to contribute that would enrich the life of others. They're actually a burden. It is this kind of paralyzed state that most people covet. Jesus has a very different view of life and what is good about it. So he brings about this change. We don't have to live like the paralytics. We can actually come into a more vital, dynamic and active way of life in which we have a beneficial impact on all around us and the total situation in which we are placed. And that's something great. So, what should happen to us through our formation, which includes education, family, nurture, religious training, etc., is a gradual and progressive deliverance from this crude animal like instinct of the low nature of wanting to live entirely for oneself, to shape everything only according to one's own needs, desires, and taste, and to be indifferent to the needs of others and indifferent especially to the needs of the society to which we belong, indifferent also to the humankind, which actually determines our identity in the broad sense of the term. After all, we're all human beings. Then all other sub-identities begin to be formed. Now, when we become increasingly conscious of our duty to serve the needs that arise or needs that come into view when we are mindful of the society in which we live, or the community to which we belong, the country in which we live, and ultimately the humankind to which we belong, then our personality begins to be qualitatively different. And the transformation that we attain is extraordinarily great. If you look at the great men and women of history, you will find that not the selfish types that lived only for themselves. There have been millions and billions of such people. They came, they lived for themselves, they disappeared like bubbles and left nothing behind, and they were forgotten soon after their death. But the few names that still remain shining bright in the firmament of humanity pertain to those individuals who not only lived for themselves but also for the enhancement of the species to which they belong. So, this is a challenge for each one of us. As a matter of fact, in terms of my own experience, I wish to bear witness to the fact that our real worth is directly proportionate to the beneficial impact that we have on others. Even if we have the whole wealth at our disposal, but we have absolutely no concern for others, for them it's as good as our not existing. It's because the rich people, the billionaires of the world, realize it in a kind of subliminal way that everyone who becomes a millionaire also becomes a philanthropist. Now, that philanthropy is a belated act. It's still valuable, even if it is an afterthought, it's still valuable. But their first priority was themselves, their first priority was to make themselves members of the privileged club of billionaires. And after that, they want to add a little more human gloss to their achievements, and therefore they become philanthropic, they become generous, they contribute to various humanitarian causes, etc. So it's a mixture. It's a mixture. It's not pure stuff. It's a mixture of self-seeking and altruism, and that's it has its value. I don't doubt it, but it's not the ideal in character formation and personality development. So the long and short of our thinking is this. There are two completely contrary character orientations. One is living entirely for oneself, in which a condition in which we expect everything to be done for us and everything to be done to us by others. We have no responsibility for ourselves. Others have all the responsibilities. They owe it to us to take care of us and do everything according to our bidding. We are the happy and grateful, sometimes not even grateful, recipients of the selfless service of others and the fruits of other people's labor. But we have absolutely no responsibility, duty, or obligation by anyone. When it comes to doing something for others, we are all paralytics. We can't move a little finger. All we can do is to lie down comfortably in our beds, because when the need arises, others will come and carry us to wherever we want. This is the lowest level of life imaginable. Unfortunately, This state of life appeals to far too many people, and many people are under the suicidal delusion that this is a desirable state of life. It's not, it is pathetic, it is despicable, it is to be avoided at all costs. Death is better than the state of life. The alternative to this is what Jesus demonstrates by giving this very interesting, unforgettable instruction to the man who was brought to him to be healed, the paralytic, to whom he says, "Take up your bed and walk." It's a symbolic announcement of a radical reorientation that from that moment onwards, this man will not live for himself alone, but he'll also live being mindful of the duties and obligations that he has towards all else around him, as well as his confidence in his ability to make a difference for the better in the life of others. This is a blessed state, and this is the state to which we are required to grow and move. And it's my ardent wish that the young people who see this video would think about this, and having done so, having understood the difference in quality of life that the shift from the first to the second entails, would try and bring to effect this insight in their day-to-day life, and their character formation would be enlightened, enlivened, and strengthened through this reorientation that Jesus himself advocates. So I wish all of you all the very best for the days, years ahead. And my very special prayer for each one of you is that may God give you the wisdom, the ultimate and enduring wisdom, to develop yourself in such a manner that you become the light of the world, the salt of the earth. Both symbols, or both parabolic statements or affirmations, meaning that individuals who can make a beneficial difference in the life of others. That is the blessedness that we need to aim at. Thank you.